Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brian Jones from PopCulture.com, here with another episode of Pop Culture at Home. And my guest today is a former NFL player. He's a WWE superstar in training, but you can see him this Sunday on the A&E network on the new series, WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. AJ Francis. AJ, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, brother.
Oh, anytime, man. But, looking at the synopsis of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, I think this is really interesting and something that WWE fans can really get behind. Could you talk about a little bit about what the show's about and how did you get involved in it?
So the show is really cool, man. It's a chance for legends to try to reclaim their legacy. You have guys like Ric Flair and Booker T and Andre the Giant has his own episode, but it's actually done with Big Show and Mark Henry, and we got Jake the Snake, and we got Undertaker and Mick Foley, and like the list goes on and on of all the incredible legends that I grew up like idolizing. And honestly, I got the job because before I got to WWE, I had already done like 100 hours of TV work while I was in the NFL, from hosting to cameo spots to acting to commercials. And I had a friend of mine who was a very good friend who lives in Hollywood, and he's very good friends with one of the associate producers. And they pitched me to the showrunners, and the showrunners were like, wait, so this guy is a bona fide wrestling fan, and he played in the NFL, and he has TV experience, and he signed with WWE? Yeah, let's make sure we get that guy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely awesome, man. And, one of the things you get to do is travel with WWE legends and superstars.
It's the best part.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that being the best part. What was that like traveling with those guys? Because I'm pretty sure they have a ton of stories.
Man, it was amazing to just sit under the learning tree of guys that I grew up, idolizing. Like I said, I mean, me and Booker T had hour-long car rides off camera where we just talked about the business. And, same thing with, Mick Foley. Me and Mick Foley went on a road trip, a 4-hour road trip from the middle of nowhere, Indiana to Chicago. And all because, we were on the hunt for the show and nothing's on camera and we're just sitting, talking, cutting it up. And I'm getting to hear, stories from these guys in their element. They're back on the road. That's what made them stars, was their road life, their city to city travel. And like just hearing that in their voices is so cool to me, because it's like, even though they're not on the road anymore, they felt like they were back in their element. And it was awesome, man. And then when you huddle that in with the fact that like I got to kick it with the Undertaker for like a week. Like,
yeah.
like if you ask any wrestling fan on earth, how much would you pay to kick it with the Undertaker for a week? That number is very high. Then find out that you actually got paid to do that. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And everybody would love to hang out with the Undertaker. But I was listening to a recent interview that you did, and one of the things you said is one of the memorabilia that you would like to have is The Rock's elbow pad. Is that something, if there is a season 2, if that's something that you're going to try to get and try to have Dwayne on?
I mean, obviously the goal is always try to have Dwayne.
Yeah.
You can call him Dwayne. I can't call him Dwayne. I have to call him The Rock. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the goal would obviously to be, have Rock host the show, and then they don't even need me anymore. But he's got his own thing that he's going for. Would I say right now that my number one goal would be to have The Rock on season 2? Absolutely. Do we know how feasible that is, considering that he's probably filming 4 different movies right now as we speak? Yeah, you never know. But I mean, for me, the reason I'm sitting here before you today is The Rock. Like, I saw The Rock, and I was already a wrestling fan because I grew up since the day I was born watching wrestling with my dad. But like, The Rock is the reason that I never left. And so that would be the dopest thing possible, would be to have, an episode with The Rock. I mean, I literally couldn't if someone was like, you write the script of season 2, that would be the finale for me. So hopefully we can get that done.
That would be amazing. But when you talk about legends and the guys that you travel with doing the show, did they give you any advice on you becoming a WWE superstar?
I mean, they never didn't give me advice. I mean, the cool thing is that the wrestling community as a whole is a family, but, you know, WWE, we try to look out for each other. And, you know, most people do. You never, you know, in every business, there's always people that looks out for themselves. But when all of these legends already established and they're already superstars and they're already in the Hall of Fame and they already, like, they don't gain anything from the young guys not taking the information from them. So they go out of their way to ensure that I would sit down and talk to them about the moves that I do and how I could get more out of the things I did. And, you know, like simple techniques in the ring that they use that they think I could be able to implement. And some of the guys, like, I actually got to get in the ring to train with Booker T, with Sergeant Slaughter. So it's like, it's cool to get that hands-on experience with guys that, you know, have done everything there is to do in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. But when can fans see you on TV, whether it's NXT or maybe even a cameo appearance on SmackDown or Raw? Do you have any idea when you're be taken to that next level?
Thing is, do I know right now when I'm going to be on WWE television other than WWE's Most Wanted Treasures? No, I don't. Mm-hmm. But the thing about this business, I mean, today is Wednesday. I could be on SmackDown Friday and I wouldn't know until Thursday night. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you never know in this business. You never know how it's going to work out. So hopefully soon, because, you know, I've been waiting in the wings a while, and, you know, there's a lot of talented performers in this business, and I think I'm one of them. So I'm waiting for my opportunity just like everybody else.
Absolutely. And before you got into WWE, you were playing in the NFL. You played with various teams, including the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. What was it like practicing and working with guys like Tom Brady and Russell Wilson?
Honestly, Tom Brady is like one of the cooler guys that I ever got to spend time around. He's not anything like you would think the greatest quarterback of all time would be. He's not the nicest guy to the media all the time. I think he learned that technique from Bill Belichick, but he is to his teammates. He's real cool. I mean, I still got a pair of UGG slippers that he got me when I was in New England to this day. So the funny story about Russell Wilson is when I was in Seattle, you know, when you join a new team in the NFL, in the team meeting room, everybody has their own seat. Well, this is my seat. I like to sit here. I'm like, all right, bro, whatever you say. So whenever you join a new team, I would always sit in the front row because nobody ever sits in the front row. Mm-hmm. And the first day I would sit in the front row, and then I would look to see where everybody sat, and then I would know where seats were open the next day. So first day with the Seahawks, I go sit in the front row. And when I sit down, I'm sitting there waiting for the meeting to start. Next thing I know, I get a tap on my shoulder. I look up, it's Russell Wilson. He's like, "Hey man, you're in my seat." And I was like, "Oh my bad, I don't expect nobody to sit in the front row, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Don't worry about it, bro." And then he sat right next to me. And then from that point forward, me and Russell became cool. And the D-line was like, "Hey, when you gonna come back and sit with us?" I was like, "I'm currently sitting with Russell Wilson. I'm cool."
Yeah, I would not move either. I would try to soak up as much information from Russell Wilson. But yeah, that's awesome, man. A couple more questions for me. WrestleMania was this past weekend, a really great event. I had a lot of fun watching it. What were your thoughts on it? And do you see yourself being a part of WrestleMania within the next 5 years?
I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought I'd be involved with WrestleMania this year. I signed a year ago. I'm very confident in my abilities. I think that I can be on every WrestleMania from here on out for the rest of my career. Now, does that happen? That's not up to me. But right. Do I think that I can, and do I know that I'm ready for that opportunity? Absolutely. As far as this past year's WrestleMania, I mean, you see the shirt. Bianca went out and put on one of the greatest performances in the history of wrestling, not the history of women's wrestling, not the history of African Americans wrestling, the history of wrestling. That main event of night one and the main event of night two, but the main event of night one was one of the greatest matches in the history of WrestleMania. And it made a new star in Bianca Belair. And that's what WrestleMania is all about. There's so many new stars made this year between Bianca Belair and Omos and Rhea Ripley. And I mean, the list goes on and on. You even had guys that didn't always get their due in past years at WrestleMania or past years in big moments, like Sheamus and Bobby Lashley, who came out and put on incredible performances and finally got the flowers while they could still smell them. So it was really cool this year's WrestleMania. It's one of my favorites ever.
Yeah,
and I hope, I know I don't have any stroke on this, but I hope WrestleMania stays 2 nights forever, because I think it just flows better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the fact that it's 2 nights, because with one day it's very long, it's 4 or 5 hours. I think the fact that you split it gives opportunities for more superstars, and it moves pretty quickly. So I'm 100% with you there. So last question before I let you go is, Most Wanted Treasures, I think it's going to be a hit. Can you give us one reason why everyone should check out the show?
The show, WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, has something for everybody. If you are an old school wrestling fan, well, then all your heroes are going to be on the show. If you're a new school wrestling fan, it never hurts to learn from the older generation and realize who inspired the current generation. I'm part of the current generation, but I was inspired by Booker T. I was inspired by Ric Flair. I was inspired by Undertaker, all people that were on this show. I think the really cool part is for non-wrestling fans is you get to see the mission and how it shapes out, because sometimes we get everything that we're looking for and sometimes we don't get anything we're looking for. And every episode is unique, and sometimes we got to scramble and figure things out. And for, once again, traditional wrestling fans, you get to see a look at some of the greatest legends of all time in a way that you've never seen them before. You've never seen Undertaker like you're going to see Undertaker on this show. You've never seen Ric Flair like you're going to see Ric Flair on this show. You've never seen Sergeant Slaughter or Booker T or Mark Henry or Big Show. You've never seen any of them the way that you're going to see them on the show. And that's what gives it a breath of fresh air. And that's why I was so happy to be a part of it.
That's awesome. I think it's going to be a hit. I'm really looking forward to it. AJ, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And good luck to you on the show.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. Again, guys, WWE's Most Wanted Treasures premieres this Sunday on A&E, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And for more on AJ, your favorite sports stars, your favorite celebrities, be sure to check out PopCulture.com.